It is 6 p.m. on Tuesday, June 17, 2025. We are at Granbury City Hall, 116 West Bridge Street in Granbury, Texas, 76048. Pastor Ware of Crossing Place Church in Granbury, would you lead us in the invocation, please?
Thank you. Father, we come before you today, and Lord, first of all, we say thank you for a city that still honors you and calls out to you and believes that you have a place, Lord, in the governance and in the influence of the people. And so with that in mind, Lord, I just ask that James 1:5 would be true, would be real, Lord, where you said that if we lack wisdom, we can ask and you will pour it out liberally. So, Father, I pray that tonight, when the questions arise, that there will be a liberal outpouring of your wisdom in such a way that there's a tangible moment where someone recognizes this is not just us, that this is the presence of the Lord with us. Father, along with that, I pray that Jesus' words in John 14:27 would be true. You said, Jesus, that you were going to leave your peace with us, that this would be a time of peace, this would be a season of peace. And in this meeting, Lord, your peace would rule and your peace would reign. Lord, we ask for your blessing on our city, on our county, and on these leaders. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you, Pastor. Follow us in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. Thank you all. I will comment that if you're watching this live tonight on www.granbury.org/live, we appreciate your attendance through that medium. I think there's about 1,000 people out there. All right. We're going to go right to item 4, proclamation and presentation. I'm going to turn it to City Manager, Mr. Kaufman.
Thank you, Mayor. I do have want to recognize the utility billing department tonight. They've got a little service that they provide that nobody, unless they've been the recipient of it, has recognized. But it's a very powerful tool that we have in our software. It can monitor and print a report for somebody that's using water continuously for 24 hours. When that happens, it generates communication to our billing staff, and they look at it, and if it's more than 15 gallons a minute, they will notify the customer that they're using water that they probably don't know they're using. Most houses don't use water continuously for 24 hours, or businesses or anything, so we can look at that. But there are, and to go beyond that, during the ice storm of 2021, there were houses that were experiencing broken pipes, and we used that software and we notified, and we went and turned off water where people weren't home because we knew it was leaking somewhere, and saved countless dollars in insurance claims by doing that. So that's very proactive of our utility billing team, and I want to thank them for all that they do. It takes a little special effort to do that. Not just anybody would be courteous enough to sit down and say, let me call them and talk to them and walk them through the process. Also, I just want people to realize that as part of that water loss program, if you have a water leak and you are billed for an extremely large amount of water and you repaired that as soon as you found out about it, say like we called you and said there's a leak. For instance, there was someone that had removed a hot water heater from their building and had somehow plumbed it to where the water that was going into the water heater that was removed now was going into the sewer, and so it was 250 gallons, I think a minute or something. It was a lot of water, and we caught it. And but what we do is, if they fix it, we help them with a credit towards some of that loss, 50% of that loss. So that's a service that we provide. We understand people have broken pipes and mishaps, and and water is water, and we have to make it, and it's very expensive. But we do try to work with them when they have a disaster like that. You know, a water hose on your washing machine could break when you're out of town, and it could flood your entire house. You could come home and your house be full of water, and you have to call a company to come suck up all the water and try to remediate. Well, there's a lot of water that is going to go through your water bill, and if you'll call us and tell us what happened, we can work with you on that. We've got the records. We have the data, the technology that shows that water leak happened at 2 a.m. in the morning, and you got home and got it resolved the next day, and we understand that. Probably if it had gone 24 hours, we would have been calling and going to your house. So that's a pretty neat service. Just wanted to brag about the utility billing service that way.
Thank you. Other comments? I know we could go on all night, but I do want to comment and say thanks to the organization and the just the overall coordination organization of the hot rod show that was in town. Absolutely fantastic. The police that were there leading the people as they left, not on a parade, but on their trips down to the various assisted living facilities that are in the community. They take these hot rods out there, and if you're like me, it was like, oh, 1967 Ford Fairlane, just like the one that I had and wrecked. I mean, well, anyway, I no longer have it, but I do want to thank those folks that did that. That was Tammy, I know your group was intimately involved in that. It was an outstanding event. Thank you. Others?
Mayor, I think I forgot some videos.
Oh, well, we're not through. So, Mr. Kaufman?
Yeah, I have a do-over. Go ahead. Thank you. Thank you. So that shows some more service being provided that you probably wouldn't see unless you're on the square before 6 a.m. And we do that regularly. And then the mowing, obviously the Parks Department does a tremendous job keeping up with all the grass. With all the rain we've had, it's really keeping them going. So thank you guys for what y'all do for us.
Yeah. We have more of these online, correct?
Yes, sir.
Great.
Granbury.org at the bottom of the page.
Okay. All right. Ms. Walker, do we have any public comments? Nope. We'll skip number 5, and we'll move to number 6, consent agenda. All items on the consent agenda are routine. Previously discussed items will be approved with one motion. However, should a member of the City Council wish to discuss any item, I'll turn that on now. That item may be removed from the consent agenda and considered under the deliberation agenda. Gentlemen, do we have any item that you'd like to see taken off, discussed further? Okay. I see no one raising their hand. So do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Mr. O'Barr makes a motion. Second.
Second.
Mr. Olive makes a second. All in favor say aye. All opposed, say nay. Hear no nays. That will pass 6-0. Thank you, gentlemen.
Mayor,
Yes, Mr.
I just got one comment. Since it's 6.3, talk about the Granbury Square Plaza. Recently went there last week and took the elevator, and it worked. Yeah, it worked. So
It's an expensive ride, too.
I know, it was. And then I met with one of the tenants that was in that building, and he was there when Ken Hackett had the building, and then he's there now, and he said that he was so grateful that he got a call and was able to get an office there, And he said it's night and day between when he was there before and when the city is, and now when the city's owned it. He said that he makes a phone call and city staff takes care of it. So I just want to say kudos to everybody that's associated with the Granbury Square Plaza, the maintenance, and also vetting out the tenants and doing all that. I just want to put a shout out of what I heard from one of the tenants there at the Square Plaza.
Thank you. Aaron is our internal services director, and he heads up overseeing all that activity there, and he's in the room tonight. Just want to recognize you, Aaron. Thank you for all you do. And Roy and his staff are amazing, and all Aaron has to do is point, and they get it done, and so we appreciate that. Also, that water damage, storm damage, is substantial and is providing some revenue that we'd be able to do some things special for that we weren't able to do anyway. So I'll tell you about that in private meeting, but it is very helpful to have that insurance in place and receive those funds. We also have a roofing claim moving forward on that brand new roof. So it's unfortunate that roof was about 10 days old and was hailed out because it was such a new roof. They said it would, if it was a year old, it would have held up better. So unfortunate, but that's another claim working, and we'll bring that before the council too before long.
Okay.
A lot of work for Aaron and his team that we didn't really anticipate when we started this whole project, but they're taking care of it in a professional way. So thank you for that information.
Thank you. And I'm assuming that there's the other building that you've converted on the west side of the square for the break room and assembly hall for the city staff. That's happened.
The west side.
The west side, yeah. The new building is called a Class Act. I figured that's where the city hangs out, and they should. All right, we're going to move right to the deliberation agenda.
Good idea.
No, I have lots of ideas. They're not all good. Ms. McKenzie, if you would, come up and update us on what's happening with the Clean Air Coalition. Appreciate it.
Well, thank you, and good evening, Mayor and council members. I am Michelle McKenzie. I'm the Air Quality Program Manager for the Hood County Clean Air Coalition. The Clean Air Coalition is under the administration of the City of Granbury and oversees air quality planning with a 9-member board that include representatives of the cities of Granbury and Crescent, Hood County, as well as local businesses and citizens of Hood County. The coalition is currently working with the North Central Texas Council of Governments and the Texas A&M Transportation Institute on an air quality monitoring project. And I will mention I have 3 board members present tonight, so I appreciate all my board members.
Do you want to introduce those people that are with you tonight?
Yes, we have our board chairman, Mark Franco, and of course, Mayor Jim is on the board, as well as Chuck Licata.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you all. So let's see if this works. So for some background, Hood County has been at risk of a non-attainment designation for ozone over the years. Ozone is part of smog air pollution and poses environmental as well as health risks. Ozone is formed by a chemical reaction of nitrogen oxide emissions from burning fossil fuels and volatile organic compounds in the presence of heat and sunlight. Ozone season runs from March through November in North Texas. After several years of improving air quality, our ozone numbers have been increasing in recent years, and we're hoping that this monitoring project will help explain why those values are changing recently. And if you look at this graph that's on the display, the orange line is what we refer to as the 2008 ozone standard that was set at 75 parts per billion. The gray line is 70 parts per billion. That was the 2015 ozone standard. And as you can see with the blue line, which is our actual design value at the monitor, we were going down for several years, but since about 2022, it started going the opposite direction. And we're working to try to figure out what caused that and where we're going from here. We're pretty early in the ozone season, and we've already had one exceedance day of the ozone standard, and so we are sitting right now at a design value of 72 parts per billion, which is, of course, over that gray line. And we're hoping we don't cross the orange line again, as we already did last year. So some background about this monitoring project. It's one of the projects funded by an interlocal agreement between the City of Granbury and NICCOG. Funding for this interlocal agreement is from the TCEQ Rider 7 Ozone Air Quality Planning Grant that provides funding for ozone-affected counties in Texas. For North Texas, this includes Hood and Hunt counties. NICCOG oversees the Rider 7 grant for both counties. The monitoring project is being conducted by the Texas A&M Transportation Institute. Our other project is an emission inventory review for Hood County to account for emissions from on-road sources like light, medium, and heavy-duty vehicles, off-road sources including road construction equipment, point sources like industrial sites, and area sources that are tied to industrial practices but are not tied to a single location, so like our oil and gas activities. So the monitoring project itself involves 4 monitors installed at locations in Hood County around the TCEQ regulatory monitor installed in Granbury, and 1 monitor installed in the south in Somervell County. The Somervell County monitor will help measure emissions and ozone transported into Hood County from the south. 4 of the locations have sensors that measure ozone, nitrogen oxide, and particulate matter. All 5 of the locations have weather stations and federally equivalent method, or FEM, monitors that measure ozone. Those federally equivalent method monitors are the equivalent of the technology that they use for the regulatory monitors, but do not have the same level of, they can't be used for regulatory action, but they have that same qualifications to be able to measure at the same level. So this is a map of the location of the monitors. The TCEQ regulatory monitor is actually in the county annex parking lot on Pearl Street. And if you kind of can get an idea, the 4 top monitor locations basically surround that regulatory monitor. And then the one to the furthest south is the location in Somervell County. And this is a graphic that shows the different equipment that we're using. The first one is just a little, it's about the size of a small lunchbox. That's the FEM ozone monitor. Then we have the weather station that measures wind direction and wind speed, as well as temperature and other weather-related things. And then there's the low-cost monitor, which are called air qual sensors. They measure ozone, nitrogen dioxide, particulate matter of 2.5 micrometers, temperature, as well as relative humidity. Oops, sorry, too far. So this is photos of the 5 different locations. 2 of the locations were actually able to be plugged into electrical outlets. The other 3 are operated by batteries that are powered by solar panels. That's created some issues for us at a couple of the locations earlier in the project, just because they were kind of sheltered and didn't have access to as much sunlight. But now that it's summertime, they're functioning better. And I'll mention real quickly that one is at Rocking X Ranch. We have one at Rancho Brazos Community Center. There's one located outside of Toller. One is at a private residence, and the Somervell County is located at the Water Conservation District in Somervell County. So this is a graph of the particulate matter data sample. These monitors collect data hourly. And we've already noted that the PM 2.5 readings are higher at the Rancho Brazos location. PM 2.5 is fine particulate matter and is another form of air pollution tied to similar sources that contribute to ozone formation, as well as naturally occurring dust and pollen. Fine particulate matter is tied to health issues related to heart health as well as respiratory health, as the particles are small enough to penetrate deep into the lungs and actually can get into the human bloodstream. And this is a sample of the ozone data that was collected at all 5 locations. And you can kind of see that they're pretty much mirroring each other and following along at the same levels. And so we're getting good readings at all of those locations. Again, those measurements are taken hourly. And we're hoping to correlate all of the data that we get along with the weather data that's being collected at the same time. So thank you again for allowing me to present about this project. For more information about the coalition, you can go to our website at hccleanair.org, and I'm happy to try to answer any questions you may have about this monitoring project or about the Clean Air Coalition.
Thank you, Carol. Ms. McKenzie, go ahead.
Hey, Michelle, I've been here 10 years. How long have you been doing this? You've been here as long as I've been here, so.
I was started in 2013.
Well, you know, you're our expert, and we appreciate what you do for us.
Thank you.
This is great that you've been able to provide this. Prior to this study, if I'm not mistaken, we had one monitor in the whole county. Is that correct?
Yes.
And so this is going to give you some good data to draw some better conclusions based on science, and we're excited about those results. But if you would, please tell those property owners thank you on behalf of the city for allowing those to be placed on their property. That's a big help, and it's not very often that somebody wants to work with the government and say, yeah, you can do that there. So that's a big thank you to them.
Absolutely.
And thank you to all you do for us since 2013. Holy cow, that's great.
Thank you.
She's been operating based on grants from the state of Texas since 2013. It's a huge project for us to be able to continue that going. It looked like for 2 years ago we were going to lose the program, and they partnered with Hunt County, and we got to keep Michelle that way. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Council, other questions? Mr.
Mayor,
Rodriguez?
a couple of questions. Michelle, like you have all these devices out there now. It gives you kind of like a better directional correlation of where the ozone or particulate matters are coming from. Can you, with that data, can you pinpoint any big industry or business that's contributing more to certain zones that you have, or no?
That's what we're kind of hoping, that the data that we collect will help us kind of see where it's coming from, just to give us the opportunity for some of the industry that is located in the county, that if it is being impacted by those, that we could actually maybe approach them and say, hey, is there some additional control measures that could be placed to help clean up the air a little bit better?
Yeah. So what kind of assistance do you need in that effort?
Mostly, initially just to keep us going. But additionally, I mean, it'll depend on what we collect from the information from the data. But any outreach that, if we do find that there are things that could be done with the industrial sites, any assistance in contacting those people and saying, hey, you know, what could you do to help us would be greatly appreciated.
I think we can assist you in that aspect, but I think the delta here is knowing which businesses or industries are impacting that, or providing, you know, if you could provide more data, or if you find something that correlates to that, that'd be helpful.
Right, and that's what we're looking at. We just received the emission inventory draft report, and so there was a little bit of data in there that was interesting. So once that's approved by TCEQ, then I can talk more about that.
Okay.
But our main concern that we've had is especially the expansion of the Wolf Hollow power plant, because they are talking about expanding to a Wolf Hollow 3. The permit's already been approved, but is facing some pushback. But if that goes into place, it's going to increase the emissions from our county. It'll basically double the amount of point source emissions from that location. So it's a lot for us to offset, especially when we're already sitting above the design value at 72.
Okay. I think your counterpart
You have
has
some
something to say.
reinforcements here, but if you would go ahead and introduce yourself again so that we can have that on the record.
Mark
Thank you.
Franco. I actually live about 1.5 miles from Wolf Hollow. And so you'll notice when we started increasing the design value was in 2022, and that's when that peaker plant at Wolf Hollow became permanent and full-time to supply the cryptocurrency plant with the energy that they need to operate. So we're doing this to get factual information to see if there's a correlation with that plant to what's happening to our air quality here in Hood County. What you saw was raw data, and that data has not been able to be layered, for instance, with the weather data to find out where these patterns are, which monitors are getting affected. Are we seeing a spike at this monitor? Okay, where's the wind direction that day? And so that we can then start to narrow down where are the sources of this pollution coming from. So we're too far or too early in this process to be able to have good factual data to find out where it's coming from.
I think what would help you even more is having more sensors out there around the county to help you navigate through that process as well.
It'd be great. It's just about money, though.
The grant's paying for 5.
This grant actually it was a $200,000 project that we're doing with these monitors. The hope is, because the main expense is related to the equipment, ideally, if the Rider 7 grant money is continued, which it made it through the legislative session, so the hopes are that it will continue. It's been taken away in the past, even after it was approved by the legislature, so I don't want to speak too quickly. But if that funding is in place again, then the hope is that we can either keep those monitors where they're at or potentially move them to different locations within the county and have them in place for another 2 years.
And one last question, if you
Sure.
don't mind, Mayor. I know that we don't have the inspection anymore. I was just wondering if y'all had any type of data that, is there an increase in ozone or particular matters within the city that y'all have seen increase because of lack of registration or inspections? I'm sorry,
The-
inspections.
So the inspections that went away were for safety inspections.
But not,
The emission inspections did not go
Okay.
away. But because we're still considered an attainment county, we don't have that emission inspection.
okay.
The people in Parker County, Tarrant County, and Johnson County all do have to continue with those emissions inspections.
And if we are considered in a non-attainment area, then we will have to start doing those emissions inspections on all the cars. And how many years ago? 3 or 4 years ago, we found out how many cars were in Hood County, and it was going to be a couple $1 million for the citizens of this county to get their vehicles inspected every year.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Coffin?
Like I said, I appreciate what you're doing, and you're going to get some scientific data to deal with. You know, I was looking at the May 17th spike on particulate matter there, and I remember it really being dusty, you know, all that West Texas blowing in here. So when you layer all that, I appreciate what you're doing. It's going to be good for us. We don't have to speculate what's going on after you do your analysis. I think there's a lot of speculation going on, and hyperbole and concern, and justifiably so probably, but you need the data, so I'm excited about it for you.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, go ahead.
Michelle, thanks for giving us this presentation, and thanks for everything that you do to monitor our air quality. One of the things I was noticing, that we're monitoring what could be flowing in from the southern part of the state. Are we monitoring anything in the northern part? I mean, is there anything flowing down from Dallas or Fort Worth that's affecting us, that's throwing off our numbers? Or
Typically, our high ozone days in the past have always been attributed to DFW. So when we get our what we call the cool fronts in the summertime, where we get that wind shift, where it moves around from the southeast and starts coming in from the northeast, that's when we typically have our ozone exceedance days. There's been a little bit of shift in that, and so that's one of the concerns, is trying to figure out what is coming from the south. When we did an ozone conceptual model, when we first started this, probably 2014, I believe, or 2015, we had that data. We did a source apportionment analysis that was done by Granbury, who's the environmental consultant that we've used in the past, and they actually said that for ozone, Hood County was actually 5th on the list for contributing to the ozone. So we're highly impacted by transport of emissions. Number 1 is DFW, but we're also impacted as far as Austin, even as far as Houston when we have those strong winds that come up from the southeast. So it's a complicated situation, and we are, like I said, we're impacted from all directions, and so we only have control over the emissions that we have within our county, and so that's been our target, is to always at least show good faith efforts for TCEQ as well as for EPA, saying, hey, we do care, and we're trying to do what we can to address the parts that we can control.
Thank you.
And I would mention that one of the projects that we have looking at out there is to provide charging stations here in the community, out here in this parking lot, but also in the community to, as you say, make a good faith effort to keep the ozone pollutants down. Appreciate Mr. Kaufman working for that. Yes, Mr. Franco.
Before we wrap up, I do want to sincerely thank the City Council for your support, not only financially, but residing on our board times two, and giving us the support that we need, helping give Michelle a place to work, her computer, all that stuff. So thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you. Appreciate you both coming up tonight. Thank you.
Very much.
We'll move on to 7.2, and this is a review and discuss the City of Granbury street plan and provide direction to the city manager regarding the implementation of this plan. So, Mr. Kaufman, I'll let you go discuss this great work you've done.
So in your packet, I uploaded this document for the world to see. It's a windshield study of the road system. We hired a consultant for a pretty affordable price. They drove up and down every road and identified it. You can see they scored it. Good being yellow or gold, however you interpret that color. Fair being turquoise, and poor being, well, turquoise or blue, depending on the road surface, or poor being purple or red. And so the red is the asphalt, and that's what we're talking about doing in this as far as capital improvements. A little background, we have done this study in the past and appropriated $1 million a year to go towards the streets, to replace, improve, build new, whatever we needed to do to provide transportation efforts through the community. We're not being able to keep up with the pace of the deteriorating roads. And none of y'all were here 10 years ago when they interviewed me, and they asked me if I had any questions, and there were two questions I asked, and the one I'll talk about tonight is I asked them, what's the deal with the roads? Why are they such poor condition? And so we've endured this for 10 years, and we've tried to, we followed the prescriptive guidelines that were given to us with our previous study, and it's proven to not be enough. You can see there's more red on this map than there were probably 10 years or 8 years ago when we did the study, 7 years ago. And so it was a 7-year plan at that time, and we need to be more aggressive and more diligent in addressing these roads. The roads are a key piece of infrastructure that we need to maintain, and they're an investment for our community. Our citizens drive on them and deserve to have a better road than what we're able to provide in a lot of places. So with that, there's a prescription in the back to, do $1.5 million, $2 million worth of road paving reconstruction every year for the next few years. And if we were to do that, first off, we don't have the money in our general fund just to do that every budget cycle at the current revenue rates that we do. So if we were to borrow money to do, year one, and then borrow money to do year two, and then borrow money to do year three, and so on, the issuance cost on those bonds for those small amounts would be very expensive. You know, the issuance cost, you got to go through the lawyers. They have a base minimum amount they're going to charge you to do them. So I would recommend that we do a large bond package for street improvements at some point in the next few months, or maybe in the next year. I would say the sooner the better, but what I would like to do is engage TMP Engineering. They've been working with Highway 377 for over 12 years, and they're very intimately involved in Granbury, and they represent us at the Council of Government on many functions. When there's a meeting that they're talking about road systems at the Metropolitan Planning Organization or what have you, they go for that and do that for us for free. They're the ones that did our study on Old Granbury Road, and I would like to visit with them. And this plan that was put together was not by an engineer. It's by a firm that does studies like this. And they put together numbers based on what they thought it would cost to do certain things. And it's a little over $8 million that they were looking at. But there's also some other roads that need to be addressed. And I'm interested in this report. It's talking about improving a concrete street. And I need to find out from the engineer what it is you can do for a concrete street to make it better, where it's scoring in the turquoise. There's some kind of maintenance that needs to be done, and I would like to find out what a professional engineer would say that we need to do to some of these roads. Put it all together and come back and show you some more results at a later date. But more importantly, tonight I wanted to give you an opportunity to ask questions about this study or any comments you may have. But I would like to know if I'm on the right trail putting this together. I don't want to chase a rabbit and bring it back to y'all and say you're crazy. So just looking for a little direction. And so I'm all ears, and I'm trying to answer any questions you may have.
Mr. Corrigan?
I don't know that I have any questions. I mean, we've been talking about this for the last couple of years at least. For when I first got on council, we were fairly consistently having to rob Peter to pay Paul, and the streets just continued to get neglected, and I believe it was 2018, something like that, when we finally said, okay, enough's enough, we can't keep doing this. So I appreciate you putting this together. I think whether we want to do it or not, it's a no-brainer. We cannot maintain the streets that need to be repaired at $1 million a year. It's just not feasible, as we've seen over the last several years. We're going to have to do something, and in doubling that amount is probably the bare minimum that we could do. I mean, realistically, we could probably triple that amount, and would still take us 8 to 10 years to get it all done. So I appreciate the work you put into this. I think we're moving in the right direction.
Thank you.
Other comments?
Yeah,
Mr.
so,
Oberdehr?
I mean, we've talked about this quite a bit. I mean, and the $1 million a year, I mean, obviously we're spinning our wheels. We're not really getting ahead of anything, and we never will get ahead of $1 million a year. We also talked about concrete versus asphalt, and so we know some of the ins and outs of that. So no, I think you've done exactly the right thing. I think this is a good thing to start with, good thing to give us something to look at. But we're definitely going to have to come up with something more than $1 million a year. Now that's obviously doing some kind of a bond, and so I'd be in favor of that.
Other? I just wanted to note that the book is online for you to pull up and review. And as you review it, you'll find that there are 2 graphs in here that show, much like this one. I don't know if this one is, I can tell, but they're 2019 and 2025. So they're 6 years apart. And you very quickly can see that some of the same problems that we had 6 years ago, we have today. Some of the roads that were rated good 6 years ago are rated medium or poor today. The efforts are commendable. The task just keeps getting bigger and bigger and tougher and tougher. So I too am certainly supportive of getting more information and reaching a conclusion on this, that, we can go into 25 or 26 and beyond. Mentioning, too, that this coming Monday, we have our budget review, and we will be this will be one of the things I'm sure that we're going to get deeper into in that budget review, and you are all invited to it's out at the conference center, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, the conference center starting at 8:30.
Second floor.
Second floor, yeah, on the second floor, right. So, yeah, more to be said, more to be done. So yes, please, bring the information to us as an alternative to where we are today.
You can look on the map that's on your screen, Old Granbury Road. The asphalt's in fair or poor condition, depending on where you're at. And as you know, we've been working with the county through a study for Old Granbury Road. They've got their master thoroughfare plan adopted. They're moving forward, and they're talking about doing some projects to improve mobility and issuing debt as well. So this is a hot topic right now in the county, and we certainly want to let the public know what we're doing, and look forward to more conversations. But with your blessing, I will engage TMP to meet with me on July 2nd, and I set the meeting before I came, pending the outcome of this meeting. So I'll get with them on July 2nd.
Thank you.
So
Mr.
do we need
Rodriguez?
a resolution for a future agenda item or no?
Not yet,
No.
but I would just be confident that I understand what you're saying, and we're going to work on this and try to put together a comprehensive approach to address every street in town based upon, and then prioritize it based upon the matrix laid out in this plan, based on how important that area is. Not that there's a road that's not important, but let's face it, the dirt road that used to be paved that goes down from Howard Clemens to the last furthest hangar is not as high priority as the one by the hospital or the school. So we've got priority streets we need to really pay attention to, and then we've got areas that we're going to be replacing water lines and things like that we don't need to pave right now until later. We need to stage it till the pipes are replaced. So there's a little bit of coordination that needs to go into a plan a little more advanced than what I've presented to you tonight. So we'll get something put together, and we'll use engineers to help us through that process.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Yeah, that was my question. Chris, I see the priority map that they have, and does that fall in with how we're doing the capital improvement physical year by physical year, based on that priority, and also the different key factors that you mentioned, whether or not we need to get it done now or later because of the different projects we have in the city.
Absolutely. It's a layered onion or a Rubik's Cube or whatever analogy you want to use. It's a very detailed plan that we need to put together, and then we need to implement it, and it's going to take money to implement. So we'll try to phase it in 2 or 3 different layers so that you'll have options. You won't feel like I'm just making you issue more money than you're comfortable with. I want you and the public to be comfortable with what we're doing. So
one other thing, Chris, is I'd like for them to also take in consideration, like we did in Industrial Boulevard and M&M Road, where we put concrete at the approaches. That is where all the traffic comes at a dead stop. So it's pushed. At that time, it was the asphalt that was there was getting pushed and pushed and pushed downhill. So hopefully they're taking that into consideration because of the incline or decline of those roads or the amount of traffic that road has to handle.
yes, sir.
Yeah. You didn't mention the work on 377. While not something that we would do in the city, there is going to be city traffic on city streets as we avoid 377, and I know that some of that's in this plan too. But this is this is now. We have to start addressing this at full speed. We can't continue to do what we've been doing and expect better results.
So, you know, I will just say this, and I don't want to say anything negative about the history, but 10 years ago, about this same time, we paved that road right in front of the Napa store on what they call Plaza Drive. And if you look at this map, it's showing it needs to be replaced in that area. And that was because it was not addressing the subgrade of the road, and it had failed, and that's what's happened again. So when we talk about reconstructing a road, we're going to do it to engineered standards, unlike what they were doing with that last bond issue. I guess it's a 2014 bond issue at the time that was funding some of those paving projects. So another area is on Travis Street, failed again. What we've already repaved part of it, and it's still in good shape, but the part that we didn't repave that was paved 10 years ago has failed. And so it's real disappointing to see that, and I want the people of our community to know that we're going to do it right this time, and we're going to get that base where it holds up, and then there's maintenance that needs to occur on these roads too. And some of these that are in fair condition now need a seal coat, a chip seal put on them to make them last longer, to where we don't have to replace them in 2 or 3 years. So we'll put all this together with a maintenance plan and a capital improvement plan, and put some numbers to it, and bring it back to you as quickly as possible.
Appreciate it. Okay. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. With that, there's no action to be taken on that conversation at this point in time. But I will move to 8, which is the executive session. Discussion of matters permitted by the following sections of Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. And that'd be 551.071, consultation with attorney pending or contemplated litigation. 551.072, deliberation regarding real property. And 551.087, deliberation regarding the economic development negotiations. So we are now in executive session. Thank you. I now declare that the Granbury City Council reconvenes into open session. There was no action taken in closed session. All council members are present. Any other business, gentlemen?
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Wadley.
I'd like to make a motion to authorize the city manager to assess and collect the impact fees at the Tier 2 2019 rate as to the Bella Vista plan development.
Second.
Motion's made. Mr. Oberdier, second. Discussion? No questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say nay. That motion will pass 6-0. Other business? Other business? There being no other business, we are adjourned.